Listen, discipline changes us. Jacob learned that the touch of God that breaks us is the same touch that remakes us. The limp he was left with was a reminder of the death of his self-sufficiency and his self-will. Now we're going to fast forward a bit through Jacob's story to get to the second discovery about the lordship of Jesus, because he's not only the Lord who directs, he is the Lord who declares. Jacob discovered this in a big way. Now, that wrestling with his brother didn't stop in the womb. He kept fighting, wrestling. He was at odds with his brother. You can read the whole story in Genesis. But this wrestling really became so intense that there's a point in the story where it says that Esau declares, when dad is gone, I'm going to kill you. When dad dies, I'm going to kill that brother of mine. I mean, that's how intense this rivalry and this pain and friction in their relationship was. And so with his mother's help, Jacob comes up with this plan to run. He's running to his mother's family. She said, hey, go to my family that's far away so your brother can't reach you. You'll be out of his reach. And so it's on his way, running from his problems and running from his brother, that God intersects him. And what God declares to him on his way in a dream that was so vivid and real that he knew that he had encountered the living God. But God declares something to him that night that would change his life forever. And so we pick this back up in Genesis 28, starting in verse 13. And this is what he hears. I am the Lord. Everybody say it with me. I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are lying on belongs to you. That's a good declaration. I am giving it to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. Whew. And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. I mean, this is like he's receiving the same declaration over him that his grandpa Abraham received. What's more, I am with you, and I will protect you wherever you go. Man, he receives this amazing declaration. And who was it that declared these promises to Jacob? I am the Lord. I am the Lord who declares. This is exactly why. It's because of his lordship that he was able to declare these promises to Jacob. The land, the descendants that were going to be too numerous to count. The fact that Jacob and his descendants were going to be a blessing to all the people on earth. I mean, this is like amazing, because it's like just what we talked about. God was not only concerned about Jacob, he was concerned about all who would come after, including us. We're part of the all people. And if that wasn't enough, the Lord promises his presence and his protection. I am the Lord who is with you. Listen, we have a God who is not silent. Throughout history, God has spoken to his people. And we have his word and his spirit who continues to speak to us. But like just in his word, there's the declarations of the truth, of what is real, what is not real. Declaration about who God is and who we are. There's declarations that are his great promises. Like what Jacob received, he has promises for you and me. We have a God who is not silent. And when Jesus declares a promise to us, he's speaking from this place of lordship, of ultimate authority over all things. Because he's the Lord. Only he has that position and that power. So that not only does he make a promise, but he'll back it up. He will back it up. The author of Numbers, the book of Numbers, is reflecting on this. Numbers 23:19. God is not a man, so he does not lie. He is not human, so he does not change his mind. Has he ever spoken and failed to act? Has he ever promised and not carried it through? Listen, when Jesus declares his promises to you and to me, we can trust those declarations fully and completely. When Jesus promises, I will forgive you. I will forgive you. No matter what you have done, no matter the fact that you don't even want to reflect on the brokenness of your own story, I will forgive you. I will heal you. Those scars that you bear, not only from your own sin, but from the sin of others. I will give you a new life. I will make you new. And I will give you my Spirit to be within you, to empower you. And because Jesus is Lord, he not only declares these promises, but he is with us to back them up every step of the way. Praise the Lord. We have the Lord who directs. We have the Lord who declares. And this brings us to the third and final discovery about Jesus' lordship through this story of Jacob. And this is that he is also the Lord who disciplines. He disciplines. Jacob made this discovery during an all-night wrestling match with the Lord. Now he had, in this part of his story, he'd run away from his brother. But at this part of the story, he's running back to his brother. Why? Because now he is more afraid of his father-in-law than he is of his brother. Crazy story. A lot of brokenness. A lot of manipulation. A lot of lies and deceit. And yet in the way God was directing, he was directing toward a certain outcome. And what we find is that on the night before he meets his brother Esau, and he's fearful for his life. And so he breaks up all of his resources. He sends family in different direction because he wanted to be alone on that night. He wanted to be alone with his thoughts, maybe even in prayer, to cry out to God. We see that he did that already in this story. But something life-changing happens that night before he meets up with Esau. And it's captured in Genesis 32, starting in verse 24. It says, Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. Now that's a long fight. I haven't seen too much like actual wrestling in my life, but I know some wrestlers. I've seen a bit, enough to know that like wrestling matches don't typically go on more than a few minutes because it's exhausting. But this guy wrestles with Jacob all night long. When the man saw that he could not defeat him, he touched Jacob's hip socket as they wrestled and dislocated his hip. Then he said to Jacob, "Let me go, for it's daybreak. Like, why are you still holding on to me? I've already dislocated your hip. I've won. Let me go, for it's daybreak." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. "Jacob," he replied. Jacob is this name that it has some different meanings, but it basically means that one is like he's a deceiver, and one is that like he's one that trips other people up. He says, "Your name will no longer be Jacob." He said, "It will be Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he answered, "Why do you ask my name?" And he blessed him there. Listen, when this fight began, he had no idea that he was wrestling with God. He'd wanted to be alone before meeting with his brother. It's like, can't I just get some peace? Sends everybody off. I just need some quiet time. I just need to be alone. You ever get that? But this guy confronts him and starts a brawl. So Jacob's like, "Let's go." Do you see that little, you know what this means? It's a hockey thing. I don't watch hockey, but I know this. They throw off their gloves. "Let's go." Jacob, "Let go." And of course, he just thought this was like some angry guy, man, won't let me pass. What's going on? He didn't know that he was wrestling with the Lord of the universe. That is until the Lord, sun's coming up, and the Lord just goes with his little finger, boop, Jacob's hip, right? They've been wrestling all night long, and it says he reaches out and just touches his hip. Boop. And it's like dislocated. In fact, as you continue reading the story, you find out that he walks with a limp. He was like injured here. But it's at that moment when he realized, this is not just some guy I've been wrestling with. This is the Lord. I love this. Then he decided, I am not going to let him go. I'm not going to let him go until he blesses me. Once he realizes that he's wrestling with God, he holds on even tighter. Listen, this injury was the touch of God's discipline. He was correcting something that had been part of Jacob's life all the way from birth. That he was self-sufficient. I'm going to figure this out on my own. There was already a promise on his life spoken to his mother about him. But you know what? He used deception to try to get that promise. He tried to do it in his own power and his own strength. So God brings this correction to him in the form of like some significant discipline. Boop, blah. Hebrews 12, 5 and 6 talks about God's discipline. It says, have you forgotten the encouraging words God spoke to you as his children? He said, my child, don't make light of the Lord's discipline. Some older version will say, don't despise God's discipline. The Lord's discipline. I love that. He's the Lord who disciplines. And don't give up when he corrects you. For the Lord, who? The Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes each one he accepts as a child. And again, just like we don't always understand God's direction, sometimes when we're going through a phase of discipline or a moment of discipline, we do not understand it. But you know what? Because he is good, we can trust it. That it is for our good, it is for our development. And listen, what was the result of Jacob's discipline? A blessing. There's kind of two results. He gets blessed. He gets blessed so much that it literally changed his identity. From that moment on, he was no longer Jacob. He was Israel. The leader of a nation that would bless the entire world. That promise, that declaration that had been spoken to his mom and then affirmed to him that night in a dream, that all people will be blessed because of you. He now bore this new identity, and it came after this discipline. Listen, discipline changes us. Jacob learned that the touch of God that breaks us is the same touch that remakes us. The limp he was left with was a reminder of the death of his self-sufficiency and his self-will. I'm going to do this all on my own. I'm going to do it in my own strength. I'm going to do it the way I want to. And God's like, boop. No. I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to change you. Man, it's the same for you and for me. The same touch that God uses to break us is the same touch that will remake us. Now, I'd rather walk with a limp because of God's work in my life than to run in the way I want to run, unchanged, undisciplined, unbridled, doing life, trying to do life in my own strength, according to my own will, my own sufficiency. Man, that limp, what a constant reminder to him. Like he meets his brother the next day. Everything goes really well. Like God was with him, protected him, blessed him. But you know what? He shows up, yeah, something's changed. It was this last night. Wasn't like this yesterday morning. But last night something happened in my life. By the way, don't call me Jacob anymore either. Got a new name, a new identity, and a new way to walk. God's discipline changes the way we walk. Let's embrace God's discipline. It's how he's preparing us, like Jacob, for a new identity and a new walk.